The NFL Combine is a wrap for the 2026 season. It's now March, and we're marching towards the 2026 NFL Draft in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I cannot wait. It feels like it's far. It feels like it's 6 months away, but it's really just about 6 weeks away. I just released my latest NFL Mock Draft 3.0 up at rosterwatch.com. It's 3 rounds, 100 selections. You can go check that out at rosterwatch.com. I'll talk about it later in the week on one of the shows. But today I want to come in just for a quick one and talk about the combine risers from the offensive side of the football. We talked about defense on Friday, and today I want to come in and bring you my thoughts on quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I have not finished watching all the offensive line back. On Sunday, I was driving back home. Left early Sunday morning from Indianapolis, drove home, got home to Charleston about 6 p.m. So I haven't watched back all of the offensive line stuff quite yet, but I did grade all of the wide receiver workouts on Saturday, watch the quarterbacks, have notes on the quarterbacks. Actually, just realized I started without my notepad in front of me, which is amazing. So I have to go off of memory for the quarterbacks. And then watch the running backs as well. And the blistering Mike Washington, 4.3, 340-yard dash that, again, we've talked about Mike Washington on the show plenty. But one of just 4 players in the history of the SEC conference to weigh over 220 pounds and to run a 4.3 in the 4.3, sub 4.4. So 4.39, 4.38, 4.37 on down to 4.31 or 4.30. Bo Jackson from Auburn, Herschel Walker from Georgia, Niles Davis from Arkansas, and now Mike Washington from Arkansas. All had 1,000-yard seasons in the SEC as well. That was maybe one of the biggest takeaways was we knew he was going to run fast. We got some reports. This dude's going to run fast, but 100th percentile speed score? Is that really where we're going to go? That's where we ended up with Mike Washington after a phenomenal Saturday night showing in prime time. You go to the wide receiver position because that's the most, I say prevalent. We did not get routes from Jordan Tyson. We did not get routes from Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate ran a 4.53. People said in the stands that there was, some scouts had like 4.47s on him. It doesn't really matter. It's the same thing. 4.47, 4.53. Like there's been a laundry list of receivers from Davante Adams to DeAndre Hopkins to Puka to Kupp to you name it that ran 4.5s. So I'm not worried about Carnell Tate at all. He's sitting in that number 1 chair for me. And that's tough for me because I love the alpha profile, which is the new age alpha, which is the 5'11", 6 foot, 190 to 200 pounds. And that's Makai Lemon. That's Casey Concepcion. And those were the 2 highest graded route runners on the day that participated, right? I thought that overall this class was fine. There's a group of dudes that just kind of like there's a couple dudes in each one of the tiers. So at Roster Watch, the last 4 years, we've graded every route from every receiver that's ran a route at the combine. We graded every route, gauntlet, everything, 23, 24, 25, 26, because that's when they started letting us in the stadium for the whole workout. Before that, it was like if you were with the PFWA, you'd go in there for like 15 minutes. You wouldn't get to see the whole workout, things of this nature. So when they allowed us to start doing that, we started charting everything. And this top group of receivers is pretty solid hit rate. So there's 14 guys that we have graded with 25 points scored or higher in the grade. And again, the grade system, if you get a 31 is nearly unattainable from this grading perspective. But it is, if you have the most elite day of all time, you might get there. The highest possible score, I should say, is a 42, but there's 0% chance you would get. I mean, nobody would ever get there. So here's the group: 25 or higher in on-field routes and the gauntlet. From 2023, we have Tank Dell, Puka Nacua, Josh Downs, Charlie Football, Kayshon Boutte, Zay Flowers, Tyler Scott. From 2024, we have Roma Dunze. From 2025, we have Jimmy Horn, Luther Burden, Jack Besh. And from 2026, joining that group, which is like a 70% hit rate, is Zachariah Branch, Casey Concepcion, and Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon finishes 3rd all-time, just a half point ahead of Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M, who finishes 4th all time. Again, those aren't going to be big risers, but I just want to get that out of the way. I know we're 5 minutes in, and I've only given you the biggest conversation points for the biggest players, right? We've talked about Mike Washington being running back 2 potentially in the class. Talked about Jadarian Price just last Thursday in that kind of perspective. I think Mike Washington is going to end up being running back 2. I think that's a big deal from a riser's perspective. As far as the wide receivers go, Concepcion's not going to rise for me because he was wide receiver 2 coming in. He had a great week. I'm going to leave him at 2 for now. Mekhi Lemon's not going to rise. He might jump. Him and Tyson are still neck and neck for me, so it's not going to be a big growth there. Zachariah Branch does come up a couple of spots for me overall in the 2026 rookie wide receiver rankings. I had him at 8. He's now up to 6. So for me, it's that big 5 group, and then Branch is right there. I don't think Branch is much far off. I have him ahead of Omar Cooper at that position. Some of the other names that kind of vaulted themselves into tier 2, which tier 2 is between 21 and 25 points. We've seen guys like JSN in this tier. He didn't have the greatest gauntlet his year. That's why he's down here. If he's a little bit better, he would have been in that top group. He was just missed it. Quentin Johnston, Andre Yosevich, Lad McConkey, Michael Wilson, Alec Amaner, Jordan Addison, among names in this group with Jaden Reed, Jalen McMillan. There's also some misses in here like Jaquan Jackson and Bobo and Jeray Jenkins. But in that group, we saw Ted Hurst. We saw Jeremy Bernard, 2 names we expected to be higher up. Kevin Coleman and Jacoby Lane. I thought Jacoby Lane from USC had one of the better combines out of any wide receiver at the event. From that perspective, I did not see Jacoby Lane being a superstar. I did not see Jacoby Lane being in the top 10. I had him closer to 16, I think, than I did having him in the top 10. At 6'4", 200 pounds, 10-inch hands, 10.5-inch hands, 32-inch arms, almost 33. Runs a 4.47 at 6'4", 200 pounds. A 40-inch vertical, almost an 11-foot broad jump. Jacoby Lane had a great week. He vaults himself up the overall wide receiver rankings for me. He gets to 11. I got him at 11. I'm debating him and Ted Hurst, who I just mentioned, Eliza Surratt. That's kind of the conversation I have Jacoby Lane in, but he graded out very well in the on-field workout, in the athleticism testing, in the interview portion. He was good. Wasn't great. He was good. Jacoby Lane has to be a little bit of a riser here in that group, and he's one of 4 in that second group. We're not going to talk about guys that fell because this is a riser show. We can talk about movers from the down perspective on a later show. One thing I do want to get to, though, is the quarterback conversation, because while you're watching receivers, right, we're watching receivers closer because we're grading every single route. From a quarterback perspective, you really only notice, and I make my notes, and I'm not watching these guys from like a overall technique perspective. It's more about an effectiveness, an efficiency perspective. It's a how many consecutive throws are they messing up? Can they just do the job? Can you make the deep out? Can you make the 17-yard out? Can you make the deep ball, keep it in bounds? Can you give the receiver an opportunity on that crossing route? Can you give them an opportunity to catch the ball and get 2 feet in bounds? Can you put the ball in a catchable place when you're literally just no defenders lobbing a football up to a spot so the receiver can come down with it in the corner of the end zone, inside the pylon, and get 2 feet down? And to be honest, the answer for a lot of these guys was no. Like, there was a lot of these names. We're not going to talk about them because this is not a faller show. This is a riser show. But a lot of names that just could not consistently get that job done. Names that could. Very, 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 very clear to me that Ty Simpson was the best quarterback throwing at the event. Now, Fernando Mendoza did not throw. Ty Simpson did. Ty Simpson's very clearly the next best quarterback. There's a lot of different projections there. Only 15 career starts, yada, yada, yada. Ty Simpson's pretty clear cut. Even if you think he's Brock Purdy got the job done and has done that so far in the NFL. Other quarterbacks I thought had efficiently solid days. Didn't make a lot of mess ups. Baron Morton didn't make a lot of mess ups. Luke Altmaier. I'll continue to bang this drum. I think Altmaier in 5 years will be a number 2 somewhere. And people are going to say, "Damn, do you know how smart this kid is? Do you know how nice it is to have a dude that can come in and just take the reins like Davis Mills and Case Keenum and things like this?" He had a fine day. Was very impressed with Carson Beck and his ability to just overcome being booed on every single snap by the stadium. I don't know. There was like 15,000 fans in there, it felt like. And every time Carson Beck touched the football, boos rained down from the ceiling. And I was like, why? Obviously, Miami played Indiana in the national championship. A lot of Indiana fans there putting on for their guy, Fernando Mendoza. Nussmeier was middling, not really a riser. Beck is going to be a riser. Beck's going to get up into that top 4, probably 4 or 5 for me. Cole Payton we'll talk about on another show. But I think the biggest ones was Beck rising, Altmaier, and Baron Morton to a little bit, to a mild extent. I'm still not completely sold on him. See him more of like a Tanner Mordecai, kind of a long shot, kind of late round UDFA 7th round type of a situation. But I think he works himself inside that top 10 ahead of some of these other names. So I guess I'll say that the biggest riser is the quarterback position, probably Beck and Altmaier for me, outside of Artie Simpson being at number 2 coming into the week. Tight ends overall from the weekend. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq running a 4.39, breaking the record, does all the things to, for me, kind of establish my Evan Ingram comp plus is really what he ended up doing. I think him and Eli Stowers both came out with 9.47 RAS scores, so neither of those guys are going to rise. Sam Roush would rise. He had a 9.93 RAS score at 267 pounds, 10-inch hands, runs a 4.70. I had a tweet the other day immediately after this about Sam Roush because it's a very small group of humans that did what Sam Roush did on Friday night for Sam Roush. And it's impressive. So running in the 4.7s, I talked about Mike Washington earlier, running in the 4.7s at either 6'6" or 6'7". So you got to be tall, 6'6", 6'7", something like this, over 260 pounds in the 260s. So there's your range, 6'6", 6'7", 260. Running a 4.7. Here's the list. Ready? Nick Casa, 6th-round pick. Brevin Spanford did not get drafted. And then here's the list. Ready? CJ Fedorowicz, 1st pick in the 3rd round. Jason Witten, 5th pick in the 3rd round. Austin Seferian-Jenkins, 6th pick in the 2nd round. Rob Gronkowski, 2nd round. That's your list of guys that performed to the same level as Sam Roush on Friday night. Incredibly impressive for the beast, the young tight end, the combine, the Senior Bowl and combine standout, Sam Roush from Stanford. Risers at the tight end position for me. I got to bump up Tanner Coswell. I've talked to Matty about this. Tanner Coswell ran a 4.7 at 247 pounds, 6'6". That kid's so young. That's a younger me would have loved to bump Tanner Coswell way up the rankings, kind of like I did with Hunter Long back in the day. Tanner Coswell is going to be just fine. It's just not going to be till 2028. It's going to take a little while. This kid's young. And he's got a lot. He's got some growing. He could be 265 by the end of this whole deal in a couple of years. Madly impressed with that workout that we saw from Cosmo. The whole group ran pretty quick. A lot of 4.6s from this overall group. Jack Endries, a guy that really didn't present as a good athlete. 8.65 RAS score, ran a 4.62 at 245 pounds. I was impressed with him. He's not going to really rise up though because he's blocked. He's bottlenecked by Sam Roush, and Max Clare had a good day as well. So that's where you got it for the quarterback, the wide receiver, the tight ends, and finally the running back position. As far as risers go, Mike Washington has to be the guy. He's number 2 now at the running back position. Nick Singleton also, you have to give him that bump back up. We saw Jadarian Price come in a little bit lighter. He came in 7 pounds lighter than expected at 210 and 203. I expected a mid 4.5. He ran a 4.49, big for Jadarian Price. Interviewed excellent. I think we're getting more clarity on that number 2 spot. I feel good about the top 4 right now. I feel good about Love, obviously. I feel really good about Mike Washington. Really good. I didn't say great or elite. I just feel really good about him from the athletic profile perspective, coupled with this last year, 1,000 yards in the SEC. Nick Singleton. I talked to Nick Singleton, asked him when he was going to be able to work out, if he was going to do anything, when the when the boot was going to come off, he was wheeling around there because he's expected 4.3 guy, right? People are expecting 4.3. He squats 660 pounds. He's a beast from Penn State. He says he's going to try and work out the week before the NFL draft, which tells me he's going to be ready for the NFL season without a doubt. He's a grinder. So I feel much better about Nick Singleton today than I did a week ago. And then Jadarian Price, I don't think he really fell. Some people think he fell because he came in light and yada, yada. I think he interviewed excellent. He's going to be a great number 2 somewhere. So honestly, Jadarian's probably going to end up being my number 4. So technically he's a faller, but we're not really talking about it from that perspective. Singleton rises. Mike Washington rises. And if you want a guy that's deeper down the list that we have to put the tape back on for, and we have to check out once again, it has to be another guy that came in at north of 220 pounds. This guy ran a 4.49, not what I was expecting. Seth McGowan from Kentucky. I got to put the tape back on. I got to check this thing out because I was not a big fan of Seth McGowan coming out of Kentucky this last year by way of New Mexico State and Oklahoma. I'm Cody Carpentier with the Draft Ranking Show. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. We'll be back tomorrow with a little bit more, maybe a mock draft or something. Click that like button, click subscribe. We'll be back. Seth McGowan rises up the board.